Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Keith Huffman on the line, and he is Managing Director over at Engager Global. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Adam. Pleasure to be here.
All right, man. So I like this topic, how to scale wellness business revenues. So wellness is a big topic, big niche and idea, and we're in Southern California, and that's what we talk about here. So definitely want to get into that and more. But first, how'd you get into this business? Give me some of the backstory.
Absolutely. So first half of my career, I spent in New York City working in the digital music industry and kind of got the front row seat there for disruptive kind of innovations and helped launch the iTunes Music Store, a bunch of subscription services.
Just roughly.
This was the early 2000s, my friend. So I'm going to date myself a little bit.
But take me back in time. What was happening during that time? That's interesting. In digital, I mean.
So right around this time, many people don't remember, but you were not able to buy songs online or stream songs online.
Yeah.
when we launched the digital music store, the iTunes store, Steve Jobs was the guy who basically broke that up, and he forced the record companies to decouple the albums because you could only buy an album. And so that started this explosion. So I took over, I kind of worked my way up the ranks first at Columbia House, then RCA Records, then BMG. And then BMG said, well, you seem to know what you're doing here. Why don't you take over this digital business? It was under $1 million in revenue. And oh, by the way, we're talking to Apple about something. And a few months later, we launched the iTunes Music Store. And 2 years later, I was running a $125 million business. Wow. And then we merged with Sony, and I was running a $250 million business.
What was it like to be there during that explosion? Did you know it was going to be that big? Did you know when you were going through it, or was it like you blinked and knew what just happened?
I mean, I think I inherently knew something was going to happen big. It's what drew me into the industry. However, how quickly it happened, I had no idea. I mean, to grow a business from essentially zero to 125 million in 2 years was explosive growth, right? We were just paving the way and filling a market need that hadn't been filled before, which is that people wanted access to music whenever they wanted to have access to it in whatever form they wanted, and if they just wanted to buy one song or listen to one song. And a lot of people don't remember, Adam, is that also a big part of the early industry was, remember when people used to buy
that
was actually a crazy business.
A lot of money made on that for sure. I remember I saw a clip, I don't know if it's true or not, but Soulja Boy and all these other ones, some of them went pretty viral back then, and they made real money off of these things. So yeah, that was a thing.
It was. Well, so when I left Sony BMG to move to LA, I took over the mobile content studio for a company called InfoSpace. And at the time, InfoSpace was running the mobile content platform for what was called Singular then, which is AT&T now, and then also T-Mobile. And it was about a $275 million business of just ringtones, basically, at that time. So, yeah, there was real money kind of going through those pipes at the time. Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
Wow, it's insane. So at what point, just taking me a little bit more to present day, when did wellness pique your interest? When did you start getting into that niche?
So I think 2014, I was sitting around at a dinner with a bunch of LA tech startup entrepreneurs who I'd been working with. I became an entrepreneur after that stint at InfoSpace, and I was working with a bunch of these guys. And we were all kind of sitting around. I was like, what do you think is going to be the next big thing? And we all said, well, we think it's going to be weed. We're like, what does that mean? And we're like, oh, let's see what it is. And so I, with two other guys, started a company called Prohibited Media, and we started the first.
Great name, by the way. Great name. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a great run. We had the first broadcast quality video studio for cannabis content and plant medicine content, and we had an in-house agency. We worked on over 60 different brand projects, and so from there, it just started to open up more and more doors of what plant medicine wellness look like? And then when that industry just had a lot of challenges, I ended up stepping out of it. And I still work with some cannabis brands, but for the most part, I work a lot more with more longevity, biohacking, better for you, wellness businesses, and it just naturally evolves. But that's how I kind of got my start. I got introduced to it through cannabis, and then it just expanded more broadly into wellness, which brings me to where I am today.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you've seen, going back to the I don't even know how I would say it, this hyper growth of Apple all the way to the different experiences you've had in between, or the Apple iTunes store and all that, all the way to the experience you've seen in between. And now on the wellness side, working with different businesses and owners, like, what do you think, or what are some of the mistakes that are made here? Like when it comes for these emerging brands, when it comes to scaling their revenues and scaling their businesses, what do you see?
So there's a number of them, and it's a little bit challenging to answer that as a one-size-fits-all, because it kind of depends somewhat on the sector or category. There's a little bit of a difference, right? If you're CPG versus like, biohacking equipment or what have you. But I'd say in general, what I do see is there is very much of a tendency to want to like kind of run before you walk. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of competition. It's a rapidly growing sector and space. However, within each of those different areas that I just mentioned, there's a lot of competition. So like, for instance, we work with a bunch of different like companies in the supplements and the nutraceuticals and the functional, like functional mushrooms and all these different, and there's a ton of different brands. And what we see is that a lot of times that a lot of these companies just go out and they just try to go into all of the same sales channels as everyone else. And there's just a lot of noise out there. And they don't recognize that there are some organic growth opportunities and programs that they can tap into that allow them to grow more organically and not like overspend, because it is ridiculously expensive to acquire a customer on Meta or on Google these days. Yeah. And if you're an up and coming brand, you're competing with the big boys that are already established out there. So there's that. I think people are like brands are sometimes not looking at some of the more organic ways to grow things. And then I'd say the other big mistake I see made is that, and this kind of goes across all the sectors, is that they try to grow more quickly than they've actually kind of raised money against. So, I've seen brands and businesses go under after getting deals with Target, right? Or after getting a deal with Sprouts. And it was a product that had, because let's use, I don't know, maybe Target as an example, like for their buyers and for that to get to that point, like there was something that was working, right? Like they're just not going to put them on the shelf, right? It's hugely competitive. So to get into Target is an incredible win. However, it is a huge capital investment, and you've got to turn that around quickly. Once you get accepted into a big box retailer, you've got to be prepared to provide them with the units at the volumes that they need. And so what I see happen is like there's so many companies in these brands, and I get it, because you're like, oh yeah, of course, I want to get into one of these big retailers. Sure. And then they get in, and then they can't support the account, and they bankrupt themselves actually under the weight of what should be a huge success story, right? It should be that next step.
What I'm thinking, like I hear it, but yeah, go ahead.
But it's capital intensive, right? It's like if you're going to get in, if you're a CPG brand, right, it's to get onto a shelf at a Walmart, at a Target, at a Costco, you've got to be able to deliver to them units at scale that a lot of developing brands they don't have the cash flows to be able to support. And even though you can raise against that in the environment that we're seeing out there right now, which is very challenging to raise capital, and it kind of doesn't matter what sector you're in these days, but to raise capital quickly is never a great thing, right? And so it's getting that timing right? So it's like starting to lay the foundations and starting to show that you're poised to be able to get into Target and build the relationships with the investors so that they already buy into you as a founder and your business model, so that when you do get that purchase order, then you're able to activate them because they're like, oh, wow, I write a check and I'm going to see your value of your company is going to grow, by whatever X, simply by getting onto the shelves of this big box retailer. But to start those relationships from scratch when you need it, it's virtually impossible.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier. I mean, you were talking about like maybe acquiring customers through organic, just in general, whether it's that or whether going further down that or otherwise. What is some of the low-hanging fruit that you see out there that maybe is sometimes missed by these brands, these emerging brands?
So I think some of the things that are missed are, one is I think affiliate marketing programs are something that are not fully utilized by this industry, which is why through Engager Global, we're partnering with one of the largest performance marketing platforms in North America. And actually they have the ability to go global. And we've created a program that's zero cost to the brand if they get accepted, and they get exposed to 80,000 publishers. And so you're able to go out and test kind of what your offers are going to be and get exposure for very, very low cost. And that allows you to start to build more organically. And what we find are some of the best support mechanisms for those programs are just like doing things like we're doing and like getting onto podcasts, getting some publicity, getting some like micro influencers on board, getting that organic sort of word of mouth and even if you have to pay a little bit to get it onto certain platforms, it goes a long way when you're supporting these other programs. And so for me, those are some like either low cost or no cost ways to start to go out and test your brand and start to get some early traction that I think a lot of wellness brands I'm seeing aren't recognizing. They're kind of like, oh, I got to go in.
Why do you think that is, though? I'm so curious about that, because when you said affiliate marketing, by the way, the reason why I'm asking as well is because I've never had a really physical product. So I'm curious why. I know in the digital space, depending on what niche you're in, like that affiliate side, that's a super profitable and like a track that many people use. So on this CPG side or other, why do you think it's missing? Not for all, but some.
Well, I think that most of the founding teams that are building out wellness companies, not all, but most, are not necessarily performance marketing savvy. That's just not their DNA. That's not where they come from.
Yeah.
And so
that's fair, because that's not intuitive, by the way. That's not intuitive. I come from the digital space, so it's kind of intuitive, like that's a track that, but if it's not, then that makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, if your background is like in R&D and product development and, that it's a very different skill set. And then it's just challenging when you do have a little bit of money and you're going out to market to understand where you have the best chance of getting an ROI with limited funds. And I see a lot of spending, like well-meaning spending that just goes into the abyss, right? It's like, we're going to go into Amazon, and the only way that we're going to be able to rise above is we're going to have to spend all this money to hire an agency that all they do is like help you like get exposure on Amazon, right? And if that doesn't, you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket for most of these companies, if that's what you're going to do. And so it's challenging. And then ultimately the downside to that also is that Amazon still is basically owning your customer. Whereas when you're doing affiliate, you're typically
so many books online. It hurts me, Keith. Oh, they own all my customers for all the books I sell through them. Go ahead. It just hurts me, though.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's like, so these affiliate programs, what we're doing is we send people directly to your shopping cart. So you own that customer relationship. And really where the big win is for particularly the smaller basket size businesses is getting subscriptions, right? So, and that's, if you can figure out how to crack that code, because, okay, we get someone in the door, we get them to buy our product once. If we can turn a certain percentage of those people into subscribers that are buying monthly or quarterly our products, then that return on ad spend is just way better than you're going to get if you're spending money on Amazon, where you don't own the customer data and you got to go back and try to spend again to get them into your subscribe and save models and all these different things. So it's tricky, man. Yeah, no, I hear you on the book. That's their DNA. That's their core DNA there.
They get us, man. I'm like, okay, it's fine. But switching it up a bit here, with some of the time we have left here, tell me about Engager Global and what you do and maybe the type of companies you work with.
Absolutely. So at our core, we help wellness businesses make money and raise money. And so as an 8-time founder and someone with a passion for bringing more natural, holistic products and services out to the world, we've created a variety of different programs and platforms that allow for these businesses to generate more revenue for a lower upfront cost. And also, when they're ready, we've got, through my partnership with Happy Wellness Group, where I'm a partner, they're a boutique capital advisory firm. We are able to raise capital from our 400 plus network of wellness investors. And so it's like kind of helping to really grow and scale these businesses. Because having worked in media, having worked in technology over the years, these like more established industries, they have really established like infrastructure. So there's these business programs, there's accelerator programs, there's funding programs that are just starting to come into play here in the wellness space. And so that's where we plug in. And we're also finding that a lot of where the easier companies to, nothing's easy to raise capital and scale, but it's certainly in longevity and biohacking. And I think part of that is just because it's such an exciting sort of cutting edge kind of what's next opportunity. But I think if you also peel back a little bit and say, well, okay, who's writing checks to fund these companies? There's a lot of family offices and funds that are run by older individuals who want to live a lot longer. And so they want to be involved in this industry. And so it's a lot easier to get them to write checks for longevity companies than it is for a CPG business. So circling back to Engager Global, we've got a website at engagerglobal.com. You can learn more about us. But if you're a company that's anywhere from kind of you're just coming into market all the way up to kind of Series A stage growth stage company within any sector of the wellness industry, we've got programs and platforms that can help you get to the next level.
Fantastic. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some information in the show notes. Keith, what's the best way for them to follow up and connect?
Other than my website, I'd say LinkedIn. You can find me, just put my name in. There's not a whole lot of Keiths on LinkedIn, and certainly only one Keith Huffman. So you can DM me there. That's the best way to get to me directly. And awesome. Yeah, I'd say LinkedIn and my website.
And what's the website?
Engagerglobal.com.
Fantastic. For everybody listening, again, we'll put the links in the show notes so you can just click on it and head on over and connect with Kiva on LinkedIn or check out the website. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration that helps you along the way on your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Kiva, man, appreciate you having me on the show. Thanks again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.